The blow heard across the stars. The Galactic Council chamber gleamed like a temple carved from starlight. Its marble-white surfaces reflected shifting constellations projected above the central floor, each cluster representing an allied species. Delegates from 100 worlds filled the ascending tiers, their murmurs low, their eyes cold. Today's agenda was supposed to be diplomatic. Today was supposed to be civilized. General Cassandra Hale stepped forward anyway. Her boots clicked softly against the luminous floor as she advanced to the central podium. She wore her dress uniform, midnight black with gold trim, her medals shining beneath the chamber's harsh lights. Though human by birth, her presence felt larger than her frame. Discipline radiated from her stance, from the straight line of her shoulders, from the way she held her jaw tight but steady. The holographic display behind her shifted to scorched human colonies, devastated settlements, and the bitter edge of space where civilian ships had vanished without a trace. She spoke evenly, but every word cut like the edge of a blade. Esteemed council members, Hale began, these attacks were not random. Human civilians were abducted. Evidence indicates genetic harvesting. We request a full investigation and sanctions against the perpetrators. A wave of dismissive murmurs washed across the chamber. A green-skinned Zoran delegate flicked his claw dismissively. Your species exaggerates its misfortunes. Again, a heavy-set Heroine ambassador muttered, humans thrive on drama. Always the victims, always demanding action. Hale's expression did not change. With respect, the images do not lie. The blood does not lie. Our people deserve. Enough. A voice boomed from behind her. Every human delegate stiffened. The speaker was not a council member, but a council enforcer. The massive blue-skinned warrior known as Vorkal, his armor black and crimson like a predator's hide. He towered nearly 3 meters tall, his muscular frame packed into exoskeletal plating. Enforcers kept order during disputes, but Hale's posture did not warrant intervention. She had broken no protocols. Yet there he was, approaching her. Hale turned her head slightly, but held her ground. Enforcer, I am still addressing the council. You have no authority to interrupt. Vorkal stalked closer, each step echoing like a war drum. Human, he growled, you waste this council's time with your pathetic demands. Several council representatives did nothing. Others watched with curiosity, as though expecting a spectacle. Hale adjusted the projector to display another ruined colony. We will not ignore the abduction of civilians. Humanity seeks lawful resolution. The charter. Vorkal snapped his claws, cutting her off. You speak of law, but you forget your place. Hale inhaled slowly, steadying herself. My place, she said, each word sharp and deliberate, is here. As humanity's elected representative, I will finish my testimony. The council murmurs grew louder, some amused, some irritated, none supportive. Vorkal leaned forward. You will be silent. Hale turned her full attention to him. No. Gasps rippled across the chamber. A few species recoiled in disbelief that a human refused an enforcer's command. Vorkal's eyes narrowed. Very well. What happened next would be replayed across the galaxy for centuries. In one swift, barbaric motion, the enforcer swung his open palm across Hale's face. The impact cracked through the chamber like thunder. Hale's body snapped sideways, slamming onto the polished floor. Her palms skidded, smearing blood across the pristine surface. The chamber erupted. Some species shouted in shock. Others leaned forward with morbid fascination. Human delegates surged to their feet, only to be held back by armed guards. Hale gasped as pain surged through her jaw, her ribs, her bloodied hands. But she forced herself to breathe, slowly, deliberately. She tasted metal. Her vision blurred for a moment, then sharpened with icy clarity. Vorkal didn't wait. He stepped over her like she was nothing more than debris. You humans forget who rules these stars, he snarled. You speak only because this council allows it. He reached for her shoulder to shove her down again. But Hale twisted away, planting her bleeding hands on the floor and pushing herself upright. She rose to one knee, towering defiance replacing pain. Her eyes, once diplomatic, now burned with something colder. She faced the council directly. "For the record," she said, her voice hoarse but unwavering, "humanity has now witnessed how you handle peace." Several delegates shifted uneasily. Some avoided her gaze entirely. No one intervened. No one reprimanded Vorkal. No one apologized. Hale slowly stood, every muscle screaming. She smoothed her uniform, even though blood stained the cuffs. A human aide whispered urgently, "General, we need to get you to medical." "Not yet," she replied. She stepped backward from the podium, giving the council one final look. Not hatred, not fear, something more dangerous, certainty. "You have made your position unmistakable," she said quietly, "and humanity will respond in kind." Silence smothered the chamber. Then, without waiting for dismissal, Cassandra Hale turned and walked out, limping, bleeding but unbowed. The human delegation followed her, their footsteps stiff with fury, their expressions carved from stone. The galactic broadcast abruptly cut off, but the final image burned itself into billions of minds across known space. A human general walking away from the Galactic Council, after being struck, humiliated, and refusing to kneel. Humanity, watching from every world and colony, felt something ancient awaken. And that was the moment the countdown began. Operation Initiation, Alien Extinction. The footage of General Cassandra Hale's assault spread across human space before the Galactic Council could censor it. Within minutes, it was on every screen, from the domed cities of Mars to the floating platforms over Europa, from desert settlements in the Sahara to the aching frontier worlds lit only by their twin moons. The blow Vorkal delivered echoed across star systems like a war drum, and humanity heard it. Everywhere, people stopped what they were doing. Workers dropped tools. Students froze mid-lesson. Soldiers on distant outposts clenched their fists, jaws rigid. Billions watched the moment Hale fell to the council floor, blood shining under alien lights. And billions felt the same emotion rising like a tidal wave. Rage. On Earth, crowds poured into the streets almost instantly. Some carried flags. Some carried makeshift shields. Some simply carried anger. Chants thundered through the cities. Justice for Hale. No more council rule. Defend our own. But the crowds weren't calling for diplomacy. They were calling for retribution. Emergency session. The Terran Senate convened an emergency meeting within the hour. The Great Chamber, normally a place of debate and carefully measured politics, now vibrated with raw energy. Screens replayed the attack in grim silence. Senators grimaced, some unable to watch more than a few seconds. Supreme Chancellor Arjun Malik stood at the central podium, voice trembling not with fear, but fury. This was not merely an attack on General Hale, he declared. This was an attack on humanity's dignity, on our sovereignty, and on the lives of the civilians whose abduction she sought justice for. He paused, letting the gravity settle. We warned the council for years. They ignored us. They mocked us. And today, they chose violence. A harsh murmur swept the chamber. Malik lifted a sealed data pad, black, heavy, marked with ancient gold etchings. This is the Extinction Protocol Charter, enacted after the siege of New Carthage, locked behind 97 layers of authorization, and never once activated. Every senator knew what it meant. Every soldier had heard rumors. Every citizen had prayed it would never be used. Operation Alien Extinction. Not genocide, not planetary slaughter, but the absolute destruction of hostile military empires that threatened humanity's survival. Swift, overwhelming, irreversible. The protocol required unanimous Senate approval. Malik's voice sharpened. Delegates of the Terran Senate, how do you vote? The answer came like a single thunderclap. Aye. Unanimous. Automatic locks disengaged. Alarms hummed. Subterranean bunkers unsealed. Operation A went live for the first time in human history. Her return. General Hale arrived on Earth 2 hours later. The moment she stepped off the shuttle, silence gripped the landing bay. Officers lined the walkway in perfect, stiff formation. Not one pair of eyes drifted from her bruised jaw, her taped fingers, the dried blood on her uniform. Hale walked forward without a limp, despite her body screaming otherwise. Her aide whispered, "Medical can take you." "Not yet," she said, voice low but sharp. "There's work to do." She entered the Senate War Council chamber, and every admiral, general, intelligence chief, and planetary commander rose to their feet. Not out of protocol, out of respect. Hale stood at the center, hand behind her back. No theatrics, no trembling. "I failed today," she began. Several admirals shook their heads, but she continued. "I believe the council would listen. I believe they would uphold their laws. I believe diplomacy could save us." She raised her chin. "I was wrong." The holoscreens activated, displaying Earth's mobilizing fleets. Carrier groups warming their reactors. Titan-class dreadnoughts powering up for the first time in decades. Quantum AIs flickering to life with eerie synchrony. "Our people were abducted," Hale said. "Our colonies destroyed. And instead of justice, I was assaulted in the chamber meant to protect the weak." She waited, letting the silence settle. If it's a message they wanted, it is a message they shall receive. Malik extended his hand. "General Cassandra Hale, by authority of the Terran Senate, you are appointed Supreme Commander of Operation A." Hale took the datapad. The room exhaled as one. "I accept." Mobilization. Humanity moved like a single colossal machine. Orbital shipyards lit the night sky as new battleships slid from cradles of steel and plasma. Colony worlds transmitted mass volunteer registries. Families sent their sons and daughters with steady voices and unblinking eyes. In the Mare Tranquillitatis base, the Furies, 3 sentient military AIs, silent for 70 years, awoke. Fury 1 online. Fury 2 online. Fury 3 online. Their fractal voices merged into one. "Commander Hale, we await target." Across the solar system, the call went out. "All fleets, prepare for deployment." Humanity did not roar. Humanity did not bluster. Humanity prepared. The first target. Hale stood on the bridge of the flagship TNS Resolute, the stars stretching ahead like frozen rivers. Her bruises ached. Her throat burned, but her eyes were steady. "Admiral Rios," she said softly, "confirm target." "Vor ta Dominion, ma'am," Rios replied. "Vor calls Empire." Hale nodded. "Poetic. Necessary. Transmit final warning." A simple message broadcast across space. "Return every abducted human. Disarm your frontier fleets. Stand down." Minutes later, the reply came. A laugh. Mocking, distorted, alien. Hale turned to her crew. "Prepare to jump." The engines roared. The stars bent. Humanity surged into the void with purpose sharpened to a blade. And Operation A began. The fury of Terra. The Vorta Dominion never feared humanity. To them, humans were a young species, loud, emotional, always demanding respect they had not yet earned. Their fleets were small compared to other empires. Their territory, though expanding, was still modest. Their physiology was unimpressive, their lifespans short. And as Vorkal had proven in the council chamber, they were easy to humiliate. So when the Dominion High Command received General Hale's final warning, they laughed. Inside the war chamber of the capital world Vormog, Dominion generals gathered around a crimson war table. Atmospheric burners hissed softly, filling the room with warm vapor that resembled smoke. "Humans threaten us now?" One general scoffed. "Their general bleeds easily." One slap, and she collapsed. Another commander drummed his claws. "Let them come. We will take their ships, their colonies, their leaders. Perhaps we will mount their general's uniform in the Hall of Conquest." They drank, bragged, and sharpened ceremonial blades. But outside their windows, the stars had already begun to bend. The arrival. The first sign was gravitational turbulence, faint, then escalating sharply. Dominion sensors lit up in a frenzy, alarms shrieking across the capital. From orbiting sentry posts to deep space satellite chains, one message spread. "Inbound mass warp. unknown fleet size. ETA, 12 seconds. 12 seconds was not enough time to breathe, let alone prepare. The sky tore open. Lines of light stretched across the heavens as over 600 human capital ships dropped from FDL in perfect geometric formation. A shimmering wall of steel, plasma, and purpose-blotted out constellations. The flagship TNS Resolute emerged at the center, hull glowing like a forged blade. Humanity had arrived. Panic erupted in the Vorta capital. Commanders shouted contradictory orders. Civilians flooded streets. Defense cannons rotated wildly, scrambling to target the impossible fleet before them. But humanity had not come to posture. They had come to execute Operation A. Infrastructure Erasure. Phase 1. General Hale stood at the Resolute's command platform, hands clasped behind her back. Bruises still marked her jaw. Her voice was steady as carved stone. Phase 1, she ordered quietly. Begin. Across the Armada, thousands of magnetic rails hummed. The Furies, humanity's dormant war AIs, activated simultaneously. Fury 1. Trajectory locked. Fury 2. Atmospheric windows acquired. Fury 3. Execute synchronization. Then the sky fell. Hypervelocity kinetic rods, silent, invisible to untrained eyes, pierced orbital defense stations, slicing through them like needles through paper. Platforms detonated and blossomed like eruptions of white fire. Before the Vorta Navy could deploy fighters, a second wave struck. EMP spears that crippled communications, power grids, and military databases in a single synchronized blackout. Entire cities flickered, then went dark. On the planet below, millions screamed as the lights died, infrastructure silenced by surgical precision. Not genocide, not chaos, total military paralysis. Phase 2, Descent of the Furies. The Furies deployed ground drones in a coordinated storm, sleek, black machines shaped like predatory insects, falling silently through the atmosphere. They landed on military outposts, barracks, communication centers, and weapons hubs. Then they sliced through them. Human Marines followed moments later, armored in exosuits with white-blue visors, dropping behind enemy lines as if they had rehearsed every step of the invasion. They targeted only soldiers, only infrastructure. Civilians were shepherded away from danger corridors. The Vorta were prepared for war. They were not prepared for precision. They fired wildly into the air, missing every target. They launched fighters that were annihilated before leaving the ground. They jammed frequencies that had already been bypassed. All their centuries of conquest crumbled before an enemy they had mocked as primitive. The duel. In the Dominion Palace, Vorkal snarled as he strapped on his armor, watching the sky burn. His pride had told him humans would not retaliate. His arrogance had told him they were weak. Now, fear crept into his bones. A tremor shook the palace walls. Then a breach alarm roared. A blast door exploded inward, and through the smoke marched a squad of human Marines, led by Cassandra Hale herself. She walked forward calmly, her boots crunching over debris. Her uniform was repaired, but the faint scar on her cheek remained, a reminder of the insult she intended to repay. Vorkal brandished a massive war axe, his armor humming. "Human," he spat. "You dare step into my hall alone?" Hale didn't blink. "I gave you a chance to surrender peacefully." Vorkal charged with a roar. He swung the axe in a downward arc that could cleave steel. Hale darted sideways, her exosuit amplifying her movements with sharp bursts of power. She struck behind his knee, destabilizing his stance. He swung again, wild, furious. Hale ducked beneath the blow and countered with a precise elbow strike to his jaw, cracking bone. Vorkal staggered, stunned that a human could injure him. "This," Hale said, catching his wrist and twisting until the axe clattered away, "is for every colony you raided." She kicked his chest. He slammed into the floor, armor denting. "This," she continued, stepping on his arm, "is for every civilian you abducted." Vorkal wheezed. "And this," she said coldly, leaning closer, "is for the council chamber." She struck once, Clean, controlled, not killing him. Vorkal slumped forward, unconscious. Surrender. Within hours, the Dominion's defense grid collapsed. Military command centers surrendered one by one. Civilians cheered when they realized the humans were not exterminators, only precision destroyers of tyrants. The Vorta High Command transmitted their surrender to the Resolute. Human forces stood ready for further strikes, but Hale gave the order. Ceasefire. Occupation protocol. Protect civilians. Humanity had won, not by brutality, by efficiency, by restraint, by will. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Dominion had fallen in a single day, and the Galactic Council trembled. But humanity was not finished. Operation A had only begun. A galaxy rewritten by blood and resolve. The destruction of the Vorta Dominion sent shockwaves through the stars. News relays stuttered beneath the weight of it. Allied species scrambled fleets to defensive positions. Merchant guilds diverted trade routes for fear of becoming collateral. Even the predatory empires, the ones that once mocked humanity, now studied the recordings of the invasion with trembling claws. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had toppled an interstellar empire in a single day. And they had done it with surgical precision, zero civilian massacres, and the cold discipline of species that had been pushed too far. Across known space, a single question spread. What will the humans do next? The message. In a secured chamber aboard the TNS Resolute, General Cassandra Hale prepared her broadcast to the galaxy. Medics had insisted she rest. Admirals had suggested she take a victory tour. The Terran Senate had offered to deliver the message for her. She refused. Some words had to come from the person who bled for them. The transmission began. Hale stood tall against a backdrop of stars, her uniform crisp, her eyes unwavering. Though the bruise along her jaw had faded, the scar on her cheek remained. A faint, shining line that had become a symbol of humanity's breaking point. This is General Cassandra Hale of the Terran-Human Union. Billions watched, on worlds, on starships, in bunkers, in floating cities. Humanity does not seek war, Hale said. We did not come to the stars to conquer or enslave. We came to learn, to build, to coexist. She paused, leaning forward slightly. But we will not kneel. Her voice hardened, becoming iron. We tried diplomacy. We tried patience. We tolerated insult after insult, attack after attack. And when I stood in the council chamber to defend the lives of my people, I was assaulted on your floor. Delegates from dozens of species shifted uncomfortably as the recording replayed behind her. The strike, her fall, the blood on polished stone. You showed us what peace meant to you. Now we have shown you what it means to us. The galaxy held its breath. Hale continued, firm but composed. Humanity will never strike first. But if you harm us, if you abduct our citizens, raid our colonies, or assault our representatives, we will destroy your tyrants, dismantle your war fleets, and burn your chains to ash. Her stare pierced the lens. We're done begging for respect. You will treat us as equals, or you will face consequences. The transmission ended. The message echoed across the stars like a verdict. The Council in collapse. The Galactic Council chamber, a monument to order just days ago, now shook with chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, claws slamming on desks, tentacles thrashing, voices cracking in panic. The humans have lost control. No, we're the ones who lost control. Vorkal provoked them. They crippled an empire in hours. What chance do we have? The council speaker rang the security bell over and over, but no one listened. For the first time in centuries, the council realized their dominance had ended. A timid Irulan representative finally rose and spoke above the noise. Let's be honest. The assault on General Hale broke the charter. We are at fault. Silence swept the chamber like a cold wind. And for the first time since its founding, the council conceded they were no longer the galaxy's unquestioned authority. Trials of the guilty. Humanity delivered Vorkal to the council steps in restraining bands that glowed with energy. Cameras swarmed. Delegates stared in horror. Hale and her Marines stood behind him like silent monuments. The trial that followed was broadcast across the galaxy. Vorkal was charged with illegal assault, abduction and trafficking of human civilians, coordinating unauthorized raids, inciting war against the Terran Union. His arrogance evaporated under the crushing weight of evidence. He roared, claimed innocence, threatened Hale, but none of it mattered. His empire had surrendered. His crimes were undeniable. For once, the council had no choice. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty. Other conspirators followed. Council members who had supported Dominion raids, officials who had sabotaged human efforts for years. They thought the council would protect them. They were wrong. Humanity had become the mirror they refused to look into. A new order. Weeks later, a new galactic accord was drafted, one with real consequences. No species may attack or abduct civilians of another world. Council enforcers may not touch diplomatic delegates. Humanity and all emerging species must receive equal representation. Interstellar militaries must answer to an independent tribunal. For the first time in 7 centuries, justice meant something. Hale signed the document last. Her signature was not the seal of vengeance. It was the seal of a future no longer built on human humiliation. The quiet moment. When the ceremonies ended and politics faded back into routine, Hale returned to her flagship. She slipped into the observation deck alone, letting the soft hum of the engines settle her heartbeat. Stars drifted by in shimmering rivers. Quiet, eternal, watching. She approached the memorial wall, names carved in radiant silver. Humans and aliens alike. Those who had died protecting peace over decades of conflict. She placed her hand against the cold surface. "I never wanted this war," she whispered, "but I will never let our people be struck again." Her reflection stared back, stronger now, the scar on her cheek a reminder of the line no one would ever cross again. Behind her, the vast human fleet waited in disciplined silence. Guardians now, equal at last, feared when necessary. The galaxy would remember the lesson. Humanity may be patient, but is never powerless. Hale let her eyes close briefly. "If they strike us again," she murmured, "Operation A won't stop halfway next time." And the stars, ancient, distant, endless, seemed to nod in agreement.